We don't say that here. That name is forbidden in this place.
I'm here at Boot Coffee campus in San Rafael. So this is a SCA certified campus. They do Q grading. You guys do everything. And I'm here with my friend Valerian. And I think it would be fun for us to just quickly intro Boot, and then we'll talk about what we're doing today. So.
Oh,
And the
electricity!
power goes back on.
Awesome.
Our power was out.
No, that's kind of cool. Like,
the power was.
It's California, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a horrible weather now.
Okay, well, who are you and what is this place?
Well, welcome, Brian. Welcome back. You've already been here once, I think, twice.
Yeah, a few times.
A few times, right. So my name is Valerian Hrala. I am here campus director at Boot Coffee campus. And as you said, we are a training center. So if you want to become a barista or if you want to become a coffee roaster or anything else SCA certified, you most likely come here. We also specialize creating professional coffee tasters through our program, the sensory program of the Specialty Coffee Association, but also Q graders. And you know, sensory science is my passion. So we go far beyond just the regular SCA stuff. We also have a great course about starting coffee roasting business because that's my background. I actually started 2 coffee roasting businesses. One in Slovakia, it's called Green Plantation, recently sold. After 12 years, It was great, kind of get a rest. And I also had one in the United States called Unleash Coffee. So all that experience I share on this course. And if I can plug also my podcast, coffees.me.
Yeah.
Man, I just managed to plug everything.
Everything. Yeah. Eventually, we're going to tap into a lot of those different coffee-related topics. There's just so much cool coffee industry-related things, topics, things like processing, which we'll eventually talk about, Q grading, courses, and all of that. This, at least for us in the Bay Area, this is just a amazing place to go to learn from, and it's because we have some like Valerian here to guide us on our journey of learning about coffee. But outside of coffee, this place does a lot of other things, and this is one thing that we want to show off today, and it's completely new to me, which is chocolate.
So, we do coffee here, but during COVID, we shop were shut down, and I had to find some hobby. And I kind of ventured out into roasting cacao beans and taking my skills or my experience from coffee, implemented into roasting cacao beans and making these bars. And it's mind-blowing that, as far as I know, in a chocolate world, this is not really happening. They roast cacao, they do that. They have their kind of like, this is my recipe, that's what I do, but they do not profile cacao. And I'm sure we will dive into like roast profiling and stuff like that later when it comes to coffee. But recently, we just had the chocolate course this week, and I was like, let's do this first, because it's kind of fun. So I want to blind taste you. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, we totally can do that.
So I have 2 worlds here. I will separate that. Okay, I have the 4 and 5, and I have 1, 2, 3. Okay. So what I want you to do is taste 1, 2, and then 3. It will take you some time because it will melt on your palate and kind of taste, and think of the flavors you experience in them. Okay, and then I want you to tell me, what do you think is the difference?
Okay.
All right.
Let
me bake them for you.
Smells really nice.
Yes.
As I am learning more about chocolate, and I'm like a complete beginner, I feel like specialty chocolate and these types of chocolates are a dangerous rabbit hole, like coffee is. But this is, I feel like, even on another level.
Yeah, the problem is that, again, during COVID, I was like, I don't even like chocolate, but I like roasting. You can roast? You can roast nuts. Okay, I don't want to do nuts. Let me try cacao. So I roasted cacao, and then, as you said, it's a rabbit hole. First of all, you're discovering more and more, and then eat more and more chocolate. Okay, so that's number 1.
It tastes already amazing. Like a lot of how I view other foods, beverages is actually through a coffee lens, and I'm learning more and more about chocolate. But this to me just tastes like it's a high quality chocolate. It tastes better than Hershey's.
We don't say that here. That name is forbidden in this place.
Really tasty.
Yeah. So kind of remember the acidity, the body, and the flavor profile you kind of got from it, and compare to number 2.
Okay. I'm gonna eat another one.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Very tasty.
I'm already progressing to number 2.
Okay. The interesting thing with chocolate versus beverages is I'm so used to aerating when I am like cupping and all of that. And with this, it's a little bit different. I'm still trying to figure out like the best way to like make my mouth taste the flavors like I do when I taste coffee.
So when it comes to acidity and body, that's easy. That's your tongue, right?
Yeah.
Those are the basic taste. When it comes to your aerating, you most like what you're doing, you kind of like try to agitate your olfactory epithelium through your nose. So the best way how to do it with a chocolate, you breathe out through your nose when you have it.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Yes.
The Valerian's yoga?
Yes.
My first question is, do you see a difference between these two chocolates?
I taste a difference in the finishes between these two. And I also think there's a difference in bitterness.
Okay.
I want to say that this has one here has a more present fruit characteristic in it than 2. I think it's like those were the 2 most apparent things that jumped out to me. I would also say that, I think there's also a difference in like the texture between these 2 as well. I want to say that this one, it feels like a little rougher, but I might be mixing things up there.
No, how about acidity? Did you see the difference between on acidity level?
I think this had slightly more acidity.
Yeah. Had more as a different type of acidity. So if I would ask you, what do you think is the difference between number 1, number 2? When it comes to kind of like, is it origin? Is it why these taste different?
So I have 2 initial thoughts.
Okay.
It's either origin or the roasting profile, just because I apply a coffee perspective to this. I also don't know anything about making chocolate as well, so there might be a difference in the ingredients that's used.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I feel like because it feels like it's not the same. Like, it doesn't feel like it's the same origin, but like roasted darker or lighter if I think about it from the coffee perspective. So I feel like these are different origins. That's my initial thought. That's like, I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I could be completely.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Okay.
And if you would taste me on this, that's what I would go with. Like for me, the origin is different. Most likely, we are wrong.
Oh,
it's not that. So, and this test, when I did this to my students before, we did it for fun before, convinced me that there's a place for this because it's the same origin.
Oh.
It's actually Ecuador Caminas Verde. It's roasted to the same quotation mark color because in cacao we don't have a color.
Yeah.
We have end temperature. So it's roasted to the same end temperature. Imagine that same coffee color, right? But the difference is number 1 is a faster roast in around 15 minutes, which in cacao world is very fast roast, and the other one is 22 minutes roast, which is still on a faster end when it comes to cacao. So all we did, we just extended the profile. And we have 2, I think for me there are 2 different products.
Yeah, no, like these taste completely different to me. Huh.
In a coffee world, this difference would be minuscule and a consumer would not see that difference, I think. It would be kind of, even for Q-graders, it's so hard to do the roast ID, right? It's an exam which is kind of everybody's scared of. But seeing these, I'm like, oh gosh, in cacao you can make such a giant difference just roasting them differently.
Yeah.
Like I tell you that number 2, which you said it's kind of more nutty, a little bit more bitter, right?
Yeah.
More, less fruity. That would be something for my wife. It's still very complex, super complex. This number 1 is more for adventurous people like me, maybe you.
Yeah.
I don't know which one you prefer. So that's the first experiment. Now, taste number 3.
Okay.
And let me know what you think.
Oh, wow. Well, this is like really interesting. I've never tasted chocolate like this ever. Like a ton of, it's like super fruity, acidity forward chocolate, that's so interesting. Like if I were to try to explain this, it's kind of like all the nice things I like about a light roast coffee, but like I'm tasting an edible form of like these light roasted coffees in here.
Yep.
Wow.
Do you think it's in a balanced chocolate?
I do not think it's a balanced chocolate. I think it is like sharp acidity. This is like a, I don't want to say one trick pony chocolate, but like specialist, like high acidity, like I think there is some amount of florality in this coffee I say coffee,
yeah,
chocolate. Yeah, I'm so used to saying coffee, but florality in this chocolate, but like acidity and florality in a chocolate. This is real. I actually really like this.
Yeah, it's super weird, super wonky. And that's an example of, so now we changed origin. It's Madagascar, Befojo. And we went like, okay, so we did this, right? We call it like a light roast.
Okay.
These Ecuadors, but different time. And we said, well, let's go with a medium roast and let's see how that tastes like. But we ran out of Ecuadors on this course, so let's just go with that. And I think that we messed up.
Oh, okay.
Because you can taste that kind of dark roastiness on it, kind of like very chocolatey, but the acidity is totally fighting it.
Yeah.
So if I would ever do this again, I would do it the same way as this, and you get this kind of crazy citrusy and berry-like chocolate.
Like the finish of this kind of reminds me of, there's like a French fries, like a potato taste to it as well. Yeah. But like the most stark thing about this was just that acidity and floralness, which is like, I've never tasted something like that in chocolate before. That is crazy.
No, it's fascinating. So this is the basically different roast styles and creating you very different worlds. And I can already see that if many times the chocolatiers who start being to bar companies, they don't think about profiles. They just take one profile from a very famous book of Dandelion or something like that, and that's what they go with. But in this case, right, that profile doesn't work. I know as a coffee roaster, with my experience, that I could make this so much better.
Yeah, but like this is already showing us that like you can clearly taste an origin difference as well. Like even though these were roasted differently, there's a clear. Just the way the acidity and floralness is presented is just a lot different between origins, which is like. This is also why this is a dangerous rabbit hole, because I can imagine if I got deeper into this, I'd be like, oh, I only like these types of origins for chocolate. Like that would be that. I don't know if I dive deep into chocolate.
No, I think it's going to happen because, like, for example, I have my favorite places. But what I think is happening a little bit, and it's disappointing in a bean to bar movement, which celebrates this kind of chocolates, is that many times they mute the interesting parts of the chocolate because they have to sell them, right? So they want to make sure that it's kind of like, everybody feels that it's palatable. A good example, we have a giant respect for Dandelion. Like it's a San Francisco
local
company.
Yes.
They have this amazing book. I learned almost everything from there. So it's an incredible company. And not this course, but the one in August we did a kind of a tour of Dandelion. We checked them out and everybody bought some chocolate. Just happened that the chocolate we worked here, Tanzania, they also had there as a bar.
Oh, okay. So exact same one.
Exactly. So we was like, oh, let's compare, and we were like, oh, we hope we get close to that. So we are tasting our Tanzanias with different roast profiles, and they Tanzania, we go like disappointed. And they are all the same recipe. They're 70% two-component chocolate, just like 70% cacao nibs, 30% sugar. And we got like, this is so mellow compared to our craziness. But then I'm like, well, now think that you give these crazy flavors to somebody who just eat chocolate without thinking. They would go like, this is not a chocolate. I don't want this, right?
Yeah.
So I give it to Dandelion that they have to kind of find a compromise there. They cannot go with this craziness, but...
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same challenge for coffee roasting.
Exactly.
Right? Is like, I think like this is so interesting, but I can't think of, like, this is like a light roast in a physical form. Like, I can't think of many people who would enjoy this. Or like, there are a lot of people who would enjoy this, but like, it is not approachable to a wide spectrum of people, which is unfortunate. But like, it's interesting. Like, this just show, like, this example here is just like, there are these origin characteristics to chocolate that you can find in coffee. And you probably can find this in tea and alcohol and all of that, but like it is a challenge even across these industries that we have to deal with.
Yeah,
Depends.
it's exciting because that creates new things, and we can play with it. And for me, this I have to hold myself because it's so like confusing, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I want to do this again. But making chocolate is not like coffee. You roast coffee, you taste it, cool. Here are multiple steps, and maybe once we dive into that, but it just takes forever to make that bar. And it's like, oh, do I want to re-roast it? Maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, so let's go to this the other world.
Okay, so I see that these are already a different color, a lighter looking color.
So I'll reveal these are milk chocolates.
Okay.
Okay. But which is very funny is that we altered the recipe just a little bit. So, when we talk about cacao mass content in a chocolate, usually it's the cocoa nibs and butter.
Okay.
So, for example, if I would be a cheater, I can sell you a 50% milk chocolate where 50% would be 10% nibs and 40% fat.
Okay.
Because fat is the cheap one. There's nothing too much there. And if I would be the high-end guy, I would do 50% of nibs and 0% added fat, right? And it's always we're talking about added fat when it's cacao butter. Okay. It must be cacao butter, no to call it to 50%. So these are very close when it comes to the content of cacao mass, but the ratio of cacao butter and nibs is a bit different.
Okay.
So let's taste on them what you think. This was for us fun because the person who was here last week, one of the people who was here last week, she really wants to start this company where she wants to feature a lot of milk chocolate. So.
Okay, so I believe that milk chocolate should melt faster too on your tongue, or I don't know if that's...
It depends how much cacao you have, right? And
okay.
These are considered quotation mark dark milk chocolates because it's not latte of the chocolate world, it's not cappuccino, it's maybe macchiato of the latte world.
All right.
Of the chocolate world.
It's very smooth. I think it's because it feels like it's melting slightly differently on my tongue. Compared to these guys here, I would say that like when I chewed them, it seemed like some of the bits would break apart more and then they would melt in different areas on my tongue. This seems to melt a little more uniformly and coat my tongue a lot more. Going from this chocolate to this one, I don't want to say this is boring, but it's a lot more uniform, like just, taste
approachable.
Like, approachable, yeah. It's very, very sweet. There is no bitterness in this at all. There's no like roughness or harshness. It's very, very smooth. You could almost say it's like there's like vanilla and caramel or something added into here, but it's just a really sweet chocolate. Like this, I could eat this every day.
So it's not that sweet.
Okay.
But compared to other milk chocolates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we try to but you are right. It's much sweeter than this because more sugar was added. The milk itself, you have to actually use powder milk because you cannot use liquid when you make chocolate. So that powder milk itself has a lot of sweetness. It's a super fancy powder milk. So it's kind of like you said. I love that the word kind of like almost boring. It's approachable. And by the way, this Ecuador is the underlying cacao. So it's a fancy cacao. It's a very good milk chocolate, but it's nothing like that, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said it's a different world.
It's different. Yeah.
So let's go with number 5.
Okay. All right. Whoa. That's like everything in here just like turned way, way up. Wow. I mean, I said this one was sweet. This is like absurdly sweet compared to the two. And I don't know what any of the ingredients are in these, but just tasting these side by side, it's like every single property that we tasted here just like turned up to 11. Wow. It is so sweet that it's not as uniform as this. It's not as like rounded and silky. It's like the sweetness is almost like a sharp sweetness now. This is also this reminds me of this where you want to like wow someone and you're like, hey, do you know chocolate could taste like this? You would give them something like this. And wow, I mean.
So I'll tell you the recipe. So sugar content, exactly the same.
Interesting.
Yeah, cacao nibs, Exactly.
Really?
The type, the origin is exactly the same. What is different, here we played with the amount of butter and cacao nibs. So this one has, I think, 30% of nibs and 20% butter. This one has 45% of nibs and only 10% of butter. So if you add it all together, it's around 50-55%, except this one is much more, quotation mark, chocolatey. And that punches through everything.
Yeah,
it brings up the sweetness, brings up everything, but the sugar is the same.
Yeah, but that's interesting because this tastes like there's so much more sugar added to it.
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah. So now imagine that if you want to achieve this, you can add a little bit more oomph to the chocolate and you lift up the sweetness.
Okay. That's like the next level, or like, I'm pretty sure someone watching this has been making chocolate at home and it like already knows all of this, but like for me as a first person, like I've never done this exercise before where I've tasted chocolates side by side. This is kind of mind blowing that you can have such a different flavor profile. It just tastes like there's so much more additional stuff added to this, but there isn't, which is crazy.
Yeah. So this world we're still discovering, and I think there's a lot of potential to play with, let's say, more acidic versus less acidic cacao nibs, and that also can bring up the sweetness without adding sugar, so you can create healthier milk chocolates, right? This is something which we're still discovering, kind of very new. Anytime, like this is a surprise for me because I thought this would be bitter. It would be something like, it would be macchiato, this would be a cappuccino of the chocolate, but it's actually, this is really sweet.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And it's exactly the same, everything. But this is also fascinating to see how roasting differently and having a good roaster is so important in cacao world too. And I think that I hope nobody watches from Cacao World because they will get off on it. I think they're 15 years behind us, the coffee guys, so especially when it comes to profiling. And I know a lot of coffee companies are getting into the chocolate game. I think exactly because of that, because we have all that knowledge from roasting coffee, and now we're taking it into the chocolate world.
I think I'm already seeing this with some specialty roasters too. I think Onyx actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Subco India, they're doing that. I have other people signing up for the course in September who I cannot mention yet, but there are also very well-known roasting companies in the United States. They are coming here and learning chocolate. Yeah.
But so how do you even roast these? Like, can you use a normal, like we got all these roasters behind us, which you will see, but like, can you even roast cacao in a normal coffee roaster?
Yeah, so you can. Obviously, there are certain limits because, if you look at this is much bigger than a coffee bean. So the necks are sometimes a bottleneck. After you roast some cacao, you want to make sure that you really clean your roaster. What I do, I vacuum it and blow it out. And then I do a kind of fresh roast. It never influenced anything. If you're going to do it in big quantities, I think you should have a dedicated
roaster. Yeah. Okay.
But what I would love to play with is actually, I think that in a roaster world we have these drum roasters, but we have also like fluid bed roasters, which are much more kind of like a popcorn poppers of the roasting world. And I would love to play with these in a fluid bed roasters because I think those will be better with cacao. Just my hunch, but I don't have a toy. So if anybody has a fluid bed roaster to toss at me, please.
Yeah, we need some stronghold, the strongholds, but just for chocolate. If someone from Stronghold's watching, would love to get one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this has been very interesting. Is like there are so many parallels between coffee and chocolate, just even in this example here, especially from a sensory experience standpoint, is I've never done this before, and I would not have expected, like some of these chocolates we taste side by side, you're like, these taste completely different. They must be, like I put my coffee lens on it and I'm like, this must be a different origin, because at least in coffee, you're like, oh yeah, you can, if you roast it much darker, you can still tell that there are similar origin characteristics between like a lightly and a super dark, I mean, depending on how dark, right? But like this, I just would have expected those to be completely different origins, and it wasn't, and that's been really fascinating. And then even here too, which I'm like, this one definitely had way more sugar added to it. Not the case. And that's so fascinating. Wow. This is really fun for me to show off. And there are so many sensory experiences in coffee, which I am going to feature Valerian. We're going to basically do like a tour of Boot Coffee Campus, we're going to do a lot of videos here, just because I think this offers such a different perspective, at least for in these types of videos, of just like, we can show roasters, we can show enthusiasts like me, but where there is a very interesting bank of knowledge is actually from the education side of the coffee industry. And I think this is a very unique place. If you are ever in the area in San Rafael, please come to Boot Coffee Campus. But yeah, we'll start off with chocolate, show off the cool chocolate stuff, and then we're gonna dive very deep into the coffee world.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, and I hope we will unlock some of your fears to taste coffee, because your dad was here and he said I cannot do it, and we proved him wrong. He was doing pretty okay on the end of the course.
Yeah. And then eventually one day I will get my cue when my schedule frees up.
No, you should. That's a very challenging exam, and it's you have PTSD for a while after that.
Yeah, but otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope this was fun. I'll link everything related to Boot Coffee in the description here. I also, if you still happen to be watching, I definitely want to plug La Mula, which is very fancy coffees. We will do a video on La Mula at a later date, but otherwise, this is our intro to chocolate and intro to all these amazing things we're going to show off with Valerian and Boot Coffee. So thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
All right.